Okie dokie. Back to the old Avi and back to business. So, I think it's important to bring up. I don't know why I called it US mob, but I felt like, why the fuck not? The US in general is, it just cringes. But I think that I will say this is protesting Israel is good. Yes, it is. But it is ultimately lip service. It is ultimately lip service because if you questioned where the money comes into Israel and you question the motives, then you are considered anti-Semitic by many. I think this is something that people have realized for a long time. I find it very sorry, I'm at a loss for words here, but I guess I would say there's a lot of this sort of, well, let's go ahead and keep on protesting, or maybe we'll go to Palestine and fight, and this and that. You think of people like Rachel Corrie, for example, right? I know people will always bring her up, who was, ran over by a construction vehicle, I believe. So, I mean, people think about this and say, oh my goodness, it's so awful what's going on, It's rinse and repeat. I know. People talk a big game, but when it comes to actually doing something, nobody says anything. That's the real truth of it, it's rinse and repeat. Same thing with terrorist attacks and everything else. As much as lefties will make some good points and say, yeah, it's kind of just typical sort of lib nonsense to be like, oh, yeah, well, prayers to their family and all this sort of thing. But it's easier than doing something about it. It's the same thing with Palestine and everything else. This is why I feel that these movements are ultimately just kind of soulless, really. Yeah, I can appreciate the rhetoric of what they say, but ultimately, are they making headway? No, not really. I mean, BDS, of course, being banned in most U.S. states and everything else, this is lip service. Nobody's actually fighting. They're fighting the symptoms, but they're not fighting the actual disease. And you can go ahead and fill in the blanks about what you think the disease may be. And you can say ultimately it is capitalism. Yes, ultimately the disease is capitalism. Yes. But there are deeper tentacles at hand. Like I say, I'll let you guys fill in the blanks on that. But ultimately I can say, free Quds, free Palestine as much as possible. And to, give support where you can, within reason. I don't think Hezbollah or Hamas has a P.O. box where you can mail a check, or you can just give them some Bitcoin or something like that. I don't think it's that easy, But they're getting plenty of money as it is. That's the whole thing. But I think that we have to. But it's kind of like the same way that happens with police brutality cases. We just keep going around in circles. I'm reading more of that Malcolm X book, and basically they say I'm talking about a case in Mosque number 27, which is the one out in Los Angeles. And they had a dispute. The police had a dispute with, as they called them at the time, black Muslims. And they were selling their newspapers, this and that. They were selling Muhammad Speaks, as it was known. Now it's called the Daily Call, or Final Call, which of course is now mostly online. And ironically has folks, a couple of brothers that worked for NPR on there, but that's a whole other issue. And we see the same types of things. We need to get, you need to do something about these officers, this and that. And you see how little has really changed. These issues are still out there. It's just one of those things where it's just like, it is a job, unfortunately. That's what it becomes, that you become a professional activist. Just, continuing to fight for the same issues. It's the same way with separatism. Hell, maybe even people like me who talk about balkanization, I'm just another brick in the wall. I think about that. I do. But then I realized this is the role I chose, right? I chose to do this, and I continue to choose to do it. I could step away, and I've taken time off and everything. That's the next video probably that I'll be recording here. But when you're in it, you're in it. And you may get fatigued and exhausted, but maybe there's an event or something else like that keeps you going. And then another little victory here. And that gets you to the next step and everything else, I don't know. Maybe like I say, it all depends on if you're measuring progress by inches or by feet, I think, or by, millimeters versus centimeters versus meters, I don't know, whichever way you want to put it. But yeah. Some people think a millimeter in one direction is progress. Other people say it's not enough. I don't know. Something to think about, though. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that. See you later, and goodbye.